Okay, this problem is 14-2. We do cover it in the seminar, but it is a challenging problem, and it's basically challenging because there's just a lot of parts to it. So I'm doing a short video just to kind of reiterate it, right, and to show it to you again. First of all, let's start with the first part of this. Let's understand what's going on. We're Venezuela company is buying an arena. They've got 500,000. They need another 2 million. The bonds are going to cover the $2 million. The face value of the bond, written on the bond, that is 2 million. That's what they're going to pay back, and that's going to be at 10.5%. So they're going to make interest payments of 10.5% on $2 million on the bonds that they sell out. The bonds are going to pay once a year on January 1st. The bonds are going to yield, the market yield is 10%. So there's a difference between the stated rate on the face of the bond, which is what's going to be cash payments, and the effective rate, which is going to be the effective interest rate, which is 10%. So how do we figure out what the bonds sell for? That's what part A is all about. Well, first of all, we need to figure out the present value of the principal of the bond, meaning the $2 million that gets paid back. What you do with that is take the $2 million and then you figure out the present value of the effective rate. So make sure you use the effective rate for the present value of a single sum. Also, make sure you use 5 digits for Wiley plus. In the real world, it doesn't matter how many digits you use, or it might matter, but it would matter for different reasons. For us, we want to make sure you use 0.38554 or whatever it is. If you're given something different than 10 periods, 10 interest payments at 10% effective rate, you would use whatever you're given. In this problem, they give us an effective rate of 10%. That's what we use on the present value table. That gives us 771,000. We also want to add to that the amount that we spend on the interest payments. Okay, so the interest payments are going to be 210,000. So that's the face value of the bond. 2 million is the face value times 10.5%, because that's on the face, equals 210,000. So those are going to be our payments. But we want to find out the present value of an annuity, of an ordinary annuity. That's what PVOA means. Go to that table, but make sure you don't use 10.5% on the table. You use the effective rate of 10%. 5 decimal places. So the principal 771,081. The present value of the payments are 1,290,360. So the price of the bond is 2,061,440. That's what we would normally put here. However, we also have to cover some cost. It tells us that the bond issuance costs are $50,000. So we're going to get 2,061,440, but we're going to spend $50,000 in cash. So these two numbers here equal the 2,061,440. That's the cash amount that we would have gotten minus the cost. The amount we're going to pay back is always the face value of the bond, and the premium is going to be the difference to get our debits and our credits equal. It's going to be the 2,061,440 minus the 2 million. So that's our bond premium. So we received more than we are going to pay back because we're paying because the interest rate, right? The interest rate on the bond is not the same as the interest rate associated with the effective rate. I don't want to go into all that. We talked about that in the seminar anyhow. I just want to kind of go through how to calculate it. So that should get you through this part using premiums. On part B, you have to do an amortization schedule. Now, the nice thing about Excel is we can do this amortization schedule and just create it, right? So the carrying value of the bond is the 2,061,440, which we got right here, right? So that's what we're going to start with. on January 1st, 2013. This is a 10-year bond, so 10 years from now, we would pay back $2 million. For the problem, you only have to do the first 4 years. That's why I put a box around it. But I just decided to calculate it out so you could see what it looks like. In the very end, this number would actually come to $2 million. So we would make any adjustments we needed to get that to be $2 million. The ending carrying value is always equal to the face value if you keep the bond. All right. The cash paid is $210,000. I showed you that, right? You take the face value of $2 million times the stated rate. So that's $2 million times 10.5% is the stated rate. 2 mil times 10.5%. The interest expense is always going to be the carrying value times the effective rate. So in this case, it's $2,061,440 times 10% effective rate. But then the next year, in year 2, it's $2,057,584 because the carrying value changed times 10%. The next year, the interest expense is the carrying value of $2,053,342 times 10%, right? So it's the carrying value times the effective rate. The premium amount is this number minus this number equals this number. So whatever the difference is what your premium amount is. The carrying value of the bond is then taking the previous year's carrying value minus the premium that you amortized. So the amortization is going to subtract out the premium. If you're doing discounts, it's the other way, you add them. But we're doing a premium, so you subtract out the premium each year. So this number here is taking the previous year's carrying value minus the premium amortization for that year, gives you the new carrying value. This is taking last year minus this equals this. Last year minus the premium amortized equals this. And it just keeps going all the way down. You can see my how that calculation works. Okay, good. Now let's look at part C, which is the entry to accrue the interest. So the next part in C is they want to redeem half of the bonds. So they did $2 million, they want to redeem half of them. So we need to catch the interest up. So the interest expense, what we want to do is put that number in last. So just leave that blank for now if you were doing this. Figure out what the premium is going to, the premium that you're going to amortize on the bond. So we want to amortize, so halfway between 2016 and 2017, so July 1, 16 is when they're going to buy these bonds back. So half of this amortization needs to be factored in. But we don't just factor in half of it, we factor in half of the half because it's half a year. So I take that, I know it kind of sounds confusing, but we take the premium that we would have amortized for the year, but we subtract, we divide it in half because it's half of a year, and then we divide it in half because we're only doing half of the bonds. We're only going to reacquire half of the bonds. That gives me my $1,283. The cash amount is, we would normally pay $210,000, but because we're only reacquiring half of them, we cut that in half. And because we're only doing half of the year, July 1st, we cut that in half again. So the cash amount is going to be $52,500. Plug the interest expense now so that the debits equal the credits, and you'll have your interest expense of $51,217. All right, now let's do the final area over here. Entry to for the reacquisition. So now we want to take the bonds off of our books. To do this, we're going to take we're going to get the bonds first of all off the books. So it's a half of the bonds we're buying back. So $1 million off the books right there. Then these are my credits, so I'm going to move them over so you can see that. Then let's look at how, ignore the premium, let's look at the cash. Let's do that one second. The cash is given to us. We reacquired them at $1,065,000, so that's a given. We knew this one. Okay, let's look at the premium on the bonds. Well, in order to do the premium on the bonds, I kind of typed this in earlier, we need to figure out the difference between the carrying value and the face value. So how did I get the 2,046,110? Well, the way I got the carrying value for 2,046,110, the way I got the 2,046,110 is by taking the carrying value at January 1st and subtracting a half a year's premium amortization. The premium amortization is 5,132. I want to take half of that, right? 2,566. So if I subtract half of that, I get the carrying value at July 1st. So it would be halfway between July 1, 2016 and July 1, 2017. So that number goes there. Once I get the new carrying value, I just subtract the carrying value from the face value, and then I multiply that by half for half a year. I mean half the bonds, and I get 23,55055. Okay, our second to last number we need is the unamortized cost, right? We spent $50,000 in cost to get the bonds. We need to amortize half of the year, half of the bonds. So 50,000 times is the cost times half of that, divided by 10 years. That's how many years we're going to amortize it. That gives us $2,500 per year for half the bonds. We need 3.5 years, right? 1 year, year 1, year 2, year 3, and then halfway between 3 and 4 is July 1st. So we multiply by 3.5 years. So that's the amortization of that cost, $8,750. So half of the bonds cost was $25,000, 50,000 times half of it, minus the $8,750 gives me the $16,250. That's the unamortized cost. I need to get that off of the books because we're reacquiring the bonds, and we're going to now deal with that final part of it. So now I have the cash already in there. We just figured out the $16,250. We have the $20,055. We have the $1 million. The only number we need is the gain or loss. So we plug that in there. We know this is a loss because our credits are higher than our debits, and the loss is the difference to get it to equal. And we have all the numbers. All right, so there's a lot to do. You can also look at the practice. You can practice this also with the set B problems that you have. You can get those in learning activity, and then you can get the solutions to the set B problems in doc sharing. That way you can have another example. The set B problem 14-2 is similar. They're building a music arena instead of a hockey arena, and they give you new numbers to use. But you could try this again with that, and then you could do your homework. I think you would do very well with that. Good luck.